Entertainment Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 7, and my thoughts on this episode. Well, I'm gonna be surprising some people when I say these words. I thought the episode wasn't that bad. Now, I have many problems with the episode. One of them being the Breen and how it is so fucking blatant that they are being written as fucking Klingons. It is so fucking obvious, and it's just, to me, why didn't you just bring the Klingons in at that point? And the biggest problem with this episode, I will have to say, is that the end, I thought it was a stupid plan they came up with, pretty much going on a lot of faith. But overall, I thought, listen, the episode made sense. We didn't waste so much time. We got to learn a lot about the Breen and their culture. Listen, I'm not happy it's Discovery writers writing the Breen, and I will, again, like I said last week, I will not consider any of this canon when this is over, but they're showing us a story, and so far the Breen are okay. Unfortunately, most of their bloody culture seems to be just a copy of the fucking Klingons, except for this leadership role, which I'll go into detail in the spoiler section. I thought the acting also was not as bad as usual. I thought, again, listen, it's Discovery. The fact that I wasn't cringing throughout this episode and not wanting to literally stop watching, I think's a win. Listen, it's the best we've gotten so far. Out of all the shit we've gotten, but it is the best so far. We did also have a stupid scene where, as I've said before, Raynar gets pretty much bitch slapped by all the women. They do give him a win in this episode, but I would say I would have liked a little bit more from him. But again, listen, a powerful man needs to be slapped down by a bunch of gaggling bitches. So, you know, what happens. Listen, the episode wasn't bad, but again, when I compare it to real Star Trek, it's a terrible episode compared to them. But when I compare this episode to Discovery episodes, it is better. It's an improvement. I can't really say it's a terrible episode because it really wasn't. I like character's motivation in this. I thought a certain scene with a certain character didn't make sense, because why would you be that stupid to put your life at risk like that? And then the ending of that situation, I mean, it's pretty stupid how that happened. So yeah, we are still watching Discovery. We have to remember that. But overall, again, it's an okay episode. I would give this the largest score I've given for a Discovery Season 5 episode. I would give it a 5 out of 10. Yes, I am giving it a 5 out of 10. It is not fantastic, but it is not horrible. So, yes, I'm being as fair as I always am. So let's get to the spoilers now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, leave in 3, 2, 1. So the episode starts off with Discovery jumping in on the captured ship of Mull and Locke, where another Federation ship has captured them. The person who's in charge of the security detail around them is an old character from Discovery. I honestly don't care about her. I couldn't give a shit about her name. I'm just going to call her the security woman. Again, I think I did that last time she was in a Discovery episode. I didn't remember her name then, and I'm not going to bother trying to remember it. So they've captured Locke and Moll, and now that they've done that and informed the Federation about the capture, they're going to bring them back to Federation headquarters to debrief them, and the Federation will figure out what to do with them later. So they beam them on Discovery, where the Doctor takes over his medical treatment, tells Michael it would be easier with a Breen Doctor since the Federation don't know a lot about the physiologic, how their body works, basically. They don't know how a Breen body works, so it'd be better for a Breen Doctor, in the Doctor's opinion. When a security detail arrives with security woman, when Locke tries to go see Moll, she steps in and says, nope, not going to happen, because she doesn't know who he is and she thinks he's a threat. When Michael tries to defend him, she just says, I'm not going to let this happen. And you can understand it, like, you can understand that she doesn't really know Locke. She doesn't want to have somebody who she doesn't trust in the room where she's got two, suspects who have managed to escape multiple times. She wants to keep the area very secure, and you can understand it. Again, that made sense. And I get some people probably say it's Locke. Michael wouldn't exactly expect Locke to be helping him, them to escape. But you see it from a security woman's position. It's just a risk you don't have to take. If you want to speak to Moll, wait. And I kind of respected that. Then the Doctor talks to Michael and tells Michael that they need to get Locke to a more colder area of the galaxy or somewhere, or find some technology that they can put Locke in, because Breen have to be in very cold conditions to survive, and for Locke to be able to recover, he needs to be in a much more hospitable environment for a Breen. Now, I would have liked a bit more from this episode where the Doctor could have explained about the suits and why it's very important for Breen to be in them. I am a bit annoyed that that was not spoken about. I like the fact they acknowledge that the Breen have to be in very cold conditions. I mean, give a massive round of applause for the writers for at least including that. Still do not like the look of the Breen under the mask. I think it still looks ridiculous. I still hate the green, and I still hate the whole fucking Locke being a Breen. I still hate that shit. But Michael tells the Doctor that she's informed the Federation and Starfleet, and they will be completely at their disposal to make sure they have everything ready for Locke when he gets to Federation headquarters. We arrive back at the Federation headquarters. Michael tells the bridge crew to contact the base and tell them they've arrived and they're ready to dock. But then Michael gets a message from the Admiral that he needs to have a secret talk with her about the Locke situation, because they won't allow Discovery to dock with headquarters because there's a problem. Now, there's a kind of funny thing about the scenes on the bridge in the last couple of episodes. Have you noticed two characters seem to have just disappeared? Like, have not been seen since, I think, episode 3? And they have been pretty much gone for a very long time. It's the old helmswoman, I've completely forgot her name, and the other one, the black woman. They have been gone now for a couple of episodes. Did they just get it's the season final and just jump ship? I know something to say, is that really important? It's something I noticed. They haven't been seen in a very long time. I mean, I'm going to take a massive guess and probably think they'll be in the end episode. I have a feeling both of them kind of realised this ship is going down. Let's try to find another show to, well, let's just find something else. It's just something I noticed. If it annoys you, what do you want me to say to you? It's pretty obvious certain people are not returning. And by the way, the guy playing the Admiral, you can honestly tell that he doesn't care. He's just going through the motions of the scenes. I mean, he just doesn't give a fuck. I think even he knows, yeah, nobody's watching this. This is the final season. I really don't need to try that hard to get to do this job. And you know, yeah, you really don't. But anyway, Michael and the Admiral have a secret chat with each other because it's a classified meeting. And then when Michael asks, why won't you let us dock? What's the problem? The Admiral tells her, the Breen found out that we have Locke and Mull, and they are demanding that we hand him over, or them over, or they'll start a war with the Federation over him. Now, the problem right now for the Breen is their their Emperor died. Now, when I said in the non-spoiler part about the Breen being turned into the Klingons, most of this episode, if you take out the Breen and put the Klingons in, you wouldn't miss a fucking beat. Everything sounds like the fucking Klingons. The bounty on the Mull and Locke's head, which is a blood oath, or at least a blood debt, that just sounds Klingon. The way the Breen have been acting, the fact the Breen seem to have a royal leadership. I mean, you can also say that about, the Klingons and their, government system. Except it's not, a king, it's a chancellor. But you get what I mean, right? The Breen are literally just the Klingons now. And so I'm just asking myself, then why didn't you just bring the Klingons in? Like, we all understand that Discovery doesn't ever want to accept that they were wrong on the design of the Klingons, even though everywhere else has literally accepted that. Even in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, they accept the Klingon design was shit. But it seems like in Discovery, they never want to admit that. And when you look at the Breen and how they act in all of this episode, it's just Klingon. The only difference is they wear masks. Now, for me, that's kind of a bit boring. You could have made an interesting, race with the Breen. If you're going to bring in the Breen, if you're going to reveal them for the first time ever in Star Trek, and the best you can do is come up with a couple of green guys and a culture that's basically Klingon, I'm a bit pissed off. Now, the episode, okay, is good, but come on. They just have a royal family? Why not create something more imaginative? Maybe, I don't fucking know, just something a bit better than basic Klingon shit. Or a royal family. Why not have, I don't know, maybe they are a democratic system, or it's a democratic system by the end, you have to fight at the end. I don't know, I'm just saying, something that doesn't just feel so copied. But Michael tells the Admiral she's not going to hand over Locke and Mull to the Breen, and that she has to force the Admiral to take a fucking stand. Now this is just old Discovery shit. When a man wants to do something, Michael just has to shut them down and, give him back his balls. It's like the Admiral should have came in there. Michael should have said, should we really give up? And he's just like, I don't want to put people at risk. And the Federation don't want to start a war. But I do want to stand up. I would have liked a little bit more of a fucking backbone in the Admiral, rather than Michael having to pretty much give him one. And it's just ridiculous. Anyway, so that's the plan. They're going to keep Locke and Mull, and they're going to stand up to the Breen and somehow try to negotiate with them. While this is going on, Stamets and Tilly. Listen, I'm going to get through the, fucking treasure hunt stuff pretty quick, because it's just a waste of time for me and for you if I just, wait. So basically, the entire episode, what Tilly and Stamets and Locke are doing is trying to figure out the next clue they got from the last fucking episode, and they ask Locke to give them a hand, and it turns out that one of the clues they have is from some special fucking book or some special kind of artifact, and the only person on the ship who knows those types of artifacts is the engineering woman, and she comes to help them, and then basically by the end they figure out the final clue by Book having a premonition or something. Well, the last clue is from a Beta Z, so he has to use his mind because he comes from a special planet where they can do that shit, and he's able to use his mind to look into the fucking clue, and that's how they figure out that the next clue is on a moving gallery or a moving library or something. Yes, that is the next clue, and I'll get to the bit at the end about where they have to go, which was definitely a member berry. So yeah, that's what they figured out. Anyway, back to the main story. So they get to Starfleet headquarters, they have a meeting with the Vulcan woman, and she's there to represent the Federation, and she's there to negotiate with the Breen about trying to stop them, starting a war with the Federation. And in the meeting with the Admiral, Burnham, and Raynar, Raynar, again, which I like about his character, keeps reminding these people that the Breen are dangerous, and they shouldn't just think the Breen are going to come in peace. They are going to probably start a fight. They are warriors, again, fucking so close to Klingons, and that they should have defences ready for them. But the Vulcan woman says, listen, you can't do that, we need to be peaceful, we need to be understanding, all that fucking shit. Nobody's saying you don't have to have peace negotiations, but Raynar is right. You should have at least a defense measure for the Breen. You don't understand what they're going to do. You don't know what they're going to do. They could come in shooting. He's just asking you to have something ready. Like he's even said, let's fake it. Let's put fucking stuff on the ship to make it look more powerful than it is, to make the Breen think twice. And then when he says something bad about the Breen, you get the Vulcan woman saying, stop being racist, basically. It's like, what? What? Oh, it's just so fuck. I just remembered that scene. Oh, for God's sake. Yes, that's racist for reminding you the Breen are very dangerous people. She even calls him a xenophobe. It's like, what? Oh, it's just fucking Discovery writers, Jesus. And then he gets sent out the room by the Admiral because he's making too much sense. So they agree to, have the talks with the Breen and not to, make a military stand with them. Just let them in and negotiate. Which, again, Raynar was not saying not have a negotiation. He was just saying let's not fucking give the Breen a free target. But anyway. And then after the meeting, Raynar gets his little dressing down from Michael, where we figure out in this meeting that Raynar's planet was once occupied by the Breen, and the Breen did a lot of terrible shit to his people. So if Raynar was racist towards the Breen, he might actually have a reason to be. Just saying. But anyway, he wasn't racist in any way. He was just saying, I'm not going to defend that point all day. But yeah, we figured out from this meeting that Raynar has a past with the Breen. So the next scene, Michael goes to talk to Locke and Mull, and in this meeting, Michael figures out the reason the Breen are so determined to get Locke back. It turns out he is the bloodline of the Emperor, so technically he's the Breen, or at least he's a way for the next person to become Emperor of the Breen. So that's why they're so determined to get him back. And he says to Michael that that's worse than death for him. He hates the fact he was ever a royal person and, all that old woke bullshit. So, Michael's figured this out, and now she can at least have a better hand to negotiate with the Breen, having that very important information. So the Breen send a message to Starfleet and tell them that they will be arriving soon to take the prisoners aboard their ship, and the Federation try to say we want to negotiate, but the Breen not having any of it. We then go back to Locke and Mull, who don't want to stay as prisoners and don't want to be given over to the Breen, so they come up with some ridiculous plan to somehow escape from Discovery, and the way this ends is so fucking stupid. But we're not there yet. But they decide to come up with a plan. In the next scene, the Breen ship arrives. Now, if you remember, like me, from Deep Space Nine, again, best Star Trek series ever created, in my opinion, you remember the Breen had a very interesting looking ships. Very interesting. And when you play Star Trek Online, they get a lot more interesting. Do you think the Discovery design team came up with an interesting design for the Breen ship? Nope, it was a basic fucking cube. Oh, it was a little bit rectangular. Let's be fair. It just looks so fucking Borg. It was just so... There was no imagination with that ship. Just make it so big and threatening. It's the fucking Breen. You could have used their old, looking ships and made them bigger, or maybe done something different with them. This is the best you can come up with, a bloody fucking massive brick. It was just so... There was just no imagination with that design. Really disappointing. I mean, most of the designs in Star Trek Discovery are pretty shit. But this one just come on, it's the Breen. Could you do something interesting there with the ship? So the Breen beam on to Federation headquarters, and then when the Primarch starts talking, he's using the voice, the Breen voice modulator shit, and somebody's trying to translate for him, one of the Breen. Then it turns out the Vulcan woman speaks Breen as well, because she tells the Breen that she knows that he's insulting them, and so the Prime decides to start talking English again, because it makes no sense if she can understand Breen. So they try to have a negotiation with him. They try to offer him, more dilithium, as much as he wants, if he will just leave in peace and not try to start a war. But the Breen Prime doesn't want any of it. He just wants the heir to the Empire. So if he has the heir, he will be the one to take over as Emperor of the Breen. So you're going to have to offer him something pretty fucking big for him not to want Locke. And they are pretty much screwed at this point. And they understand the Breen not having any of this. When Michael tries to, tell them, listen, you can take off the blood oath off of Locke, and, because it's not really worth it anymore. There doesn't seem to be any need for it. You need him alive. And then it felt really Klingon, his response, like the only way to deal with this debt is through blood. And again, just feels massively Klingon to me. Why didn't they just bring the Klingons in? I don't know. Well, I do know. They just don't want to admit they're wrong. But anyway, So negotiations not really going anywhere. At this point, Locke and Mol do their stupid plan where Locke screws himself by poisoning himself with too much stim. So he activates the stim pack on his arm, he overdoses on it, and this gives Mol time to they have to deactivate the shield around them, and Mol uses the opportunity to knock out two stupid security guards, and then the Doctor and Mol have a fight, but she overpowers him, throws him aside. Then you have the security woman and her have a fight, and again she gets the better of her and then gets out of the room and runs for the shuttle bay. Whilst this is all going on, back with the Federation, Michael brings up that apparently the Federation have been also negotiating with a different Breen leader, a female leader of the Breen, and that she is willing to accept their offer for Locke. And Breen Prime seems to, think what we're all thinking, that this is bullshit, because it obviously fucking is. But when Raynar brings up her ship name and how his people were brutalized by her, this seems to convince Breen Prime that they are telling the truth. Again, obviously they are lying, but he can't take that chance because getting the heir to the Empire or the bloodline to the Emperor is a massive advantage for whoever wants to be leader of the Breen. So whilst this is going on, the Doctor tries to scan Locke and then realises that Locke has overdosed and it's too much for his body. Informs Michael about what's happened. She goes, takes a look, then realises they need a Breen doctor. So she goes back, tells the Prime comes back, and they bring a Breen doctor. And unfortunately, it turns out there's nothing for the Breen doctor to do. And Locke sends a message to Mol telling her to come back and stop fighting because Locke's in his final moments and you don't want to miss that because you love him too much. So Mol surrenders, goes back to see Locke. Turns out Locke has a little bit of life left. He says goodbye to her, says for her to be strong, and then dies. Gotta say, the dumbest fucking escape plan I think I've ever seen from Star Trek. I mean, to kill yourself. It's just, it was ridiculous. But I did like the emotion of the scene and how you do see that Mol definitely does love him. And when Prime tries to use this as a reason to start a war with the Federation, because they, in some way, did technically cause his death, even though he poisoned himself, he's going to use that as his way of taking control of the Breen if he defeats one massive enemy who caused the death of a royal Breen. But then Mol speaks up and tells him the truth, that it was part of their plan for him to do that to himself. The Prime doesn't really care, but when Mol then says they were married because they have some special mark on their hands, and then also informs him of the progenitor weapon and tells him that if he has that, he can take over the Breen if he has that technology. So he reluctantly agrees and tells the Federation his price for not starting a war with the Federation is to hand over Mol, and he will leave quietly if they do that. At this same point, a bunch of Federation starships arrive to bolster up the defences of the area. Gotta say, the designs of most of the ships look like shit. And the Federation have to discuss whether they can take the risk of allowing the Breen to take Maul. But there is no other option. If they don't, the Breen start a war with them. If they do, they might be giving the Breen a chance to find the progenitor equipment. But as Discovery has the last clue, that gives them an advantage. And it looks like Maul is trying to also use the Breen to get what she wants, because she has apparently figured out that she could use the progenitor equipment to revive Locke. So the Federation reluctantly agree to hand over Maul to the Breen. Book tries to get in the way of this, says it's not right, but there is no other way. They have to do this, if not to save lives, also it could help with finding the progenitor equipment. So they hand her over, the Breen leave peacefully, and the final scene is Michael getting the information about the location of the moving library, and the location that they figured out is in the Badlands. And the ship then heads off in the final scene to the Badlands, and to try to find the last, or at least second to last clue to finding the progenitor equipment. And that's how the episode ends. I thought the episode as a whole was okay. There are a lot of stupid scenes, Locke's death being one of them, and the way the Breen are being written, which was exactly like the Klingons. Again, at least it was a little bit entertaining. A 5 out of 10. I think that's the biggest I've given Discovery this season. And yeah, got 3 more episodes left, and then it's finally over. That's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think of subscribing. And if you have a comment, leave it below and I'll try to get back to it. Entertainment Soldier. Bye.